Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. We are in episode 3.
Yes.
I know we took a couple of
Fancy soon with some like show notes and where we are and a quick recap. So, once we start doing this, we might start getting real official on y'all.
listen, official. Hey, coach, how are you?
Oh, wait a
You doing
minute.
all right? Oh, we are we oh wait a minute. Let me open up
That was
my
me. That was me. I got my YouTube chat up.
Okay, perfect.
Um didn't I needed to mute it. So we are all set. Checking in. Happy Mother's Day this past weekend to all
Ooh.
the mommies, mommy figures,
Hmm.
everybody.
I know Mother's Day has a lot of context, I think, just in recent years, folks are paying a bit more attention to.
Mm-hmm.
So for all the beautiful things about Mother's Day, there's some hard things too.
Yeah.
So for the moms that have lost children, still happy Mother's Day to you. We love you. For those who've lost moms, and
Yeah.
for those who just didn't really have a mom, but maybe had a mother figure,
Yeah.
happy Mother's Day to you. I don't know, it's a lot.
Love it. Yeah. Can bring up a lot of emotions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of
All
stuff we were sitting with. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How was your Mother's Day?
I will say that my husband and my kids gave it the good old college try.
Okay. All
They
right.
they, they made breakfast in bed. But you know that meme with all the clanking and the banging and the yelling in the backgrounds as they're like getting things done? That was my kids.
Yeah. So glad that you did it. And I heard everything in the background and was sitting there the whole time like,
Listen, my husband is an MVP. I have to give him full credit for managing two neurospicy kiddos early on a Sunday morning. You know what I mean? Like they got up, he's in the kitchen cooking with them, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's good. Yeah, we had a pretty chill day.
Good.
Went out to lunch with my parents. So celebrated my mom too, and then chilled the rest of the day. So
We made videos, same videos. We're not close to well, my parents are in about an hour and a half away. So we made videos, made the phone calls, and
mhm.
then mom and love, we went over for dinner
Okay.
um, for my husband's mom, and we spent some time with them, got to see their grandkids. So yeah, chill, super chill.
That's good. That's good. And how was your morning?
Yeah, so I have two narrow spicy kids. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was good. And again I do have to shout out my husband, my partner in this, because he's the balance. You know what I mean? Like he's just calm all the time. He does a really great job at like helping maneuver the kids at the door. And we're just at a phase where they don't want to listen to Umi, which is very interesting to be in that developmental phase where everything was Umi, 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 right? From those
Yeah.
early years. And now it's just like, what lady? Are you talking? I
Yeah.
barely hear your voice. You know what I mean? We're just in that phase. And there's
Mhm.
a split between the two. So it's just very interesting that they're both want to be there at the same time. So they're 6 and 3.
Yeah.
And I'm just noticing like I have to really invoke my professional practitioner skills. And I feel like they don't work at home. They might work in the school building, but when you're at home, it's a whole nother ballgame.
Was going to ask you about that. Like, what do you like put on your counselor hat sometimes with your kiddos? I know sometimes for me, I lose my shit, right? I do. I like we're human, right? I try to tell other parents as I'm doing parent training too, and adults, we're human, so we're gonna react and do as humans do.
Mhm.
But then I do sometimes have those moments of like, all right, stop, take a breath. What do I tell others? Take a step back. What am I seeing? What are the
Mm.
behaviors trying to communicate? What can I implement in the moment? So it just like cracks me up sometimes when I look back on it too. I know it, right? Like I know the principles and I know the techniques and I train on the techniques, but how easy all that goes out the window when you are overstimulated, when you are frustrated, when um, just you're dysregulated, and then trying to maintain that as well can be very hard.
So I'm going to take your cue as the BCBA on this, right? So I there's a lot of training that goes into being an autism parent, right? So we deal with BCBAs all the time. And then, part of the work is to also, really hone in on those skills every single interaction. And it doesn't always feel realistic. And also, my area of expertise is actually like 7 to 12, right? So if you're talking about the not ages, but grades. So we're talking 11-year-olds all the way up to 22, right? 24. That's just the age range that I am good at. I can command an entire room of teenagers, young
Yeah.
adults. You want me to talk to 6-year-olds? Like those skills, I promise you, don't translate at
Mm-hmm.
all,
Mm-hmm.
at all, right? And there's also just a bit of rigidity that I'm still practicing. That I think as a parent, you're like, do this, do this, do this. And even in like a high school, middle high school setting, it's like, okay, there's just expectations that most young adults are able to adhere to and, work through those behaviors. You need a lot more flexibility as the adult in the situation with the kid on the spectrum, particularly when they don't have the flexibility in the
Yeah.
task or the ask. And so that makes it also a bit more difficult for me. And again, that's where daddy comes in. He's just like, all right, mommy, go ahead. I'm going to handle this because you're going to lose it like again. So it's just interesting to have all this training, trauma informed care, CBT. Like I've done all of these specialized trainings for young adults, right? To specialize in those. But when it comes down to parenting, let me tell you,
It's hard in the moment. I think it speaks to why sometimes I check myself, even as a professional, when I am asking parents when I'm doing parent training or I'm asking staff to do things of that
mm-hmm,
capacity. Because the one thing, and I think especially now, even more as a parent, is we are expecting so much of the adults, which should be asked of the adults, right? It can't be asked of the child. But then also, we don't have systems and supports in place
mm,
to also really help regulate the adult, right? And like all of us, every single one of us is going to get dysregulated at some point in time or overwhelmed with or without kids.
yep,
And we just don't have those supports in place. Like when I look at teachers, at schools, we don't offer like in-house or in-person really self-care counseling, just self-care regulation time
right,
throughout the school day. And same as a parent, sometimes like we're so busy all day with either work, the things we have to do, things we have to get ready, managing schedules. I think there was a whole piece of that mental load, which also doesn't get talked about enough. Of like, there are days I feel like, well, not days, there's almost every day I feel like I have 32 tabs open in my head because I have to
oh,
think of all the
yes,
things for today, all the things for tomorrow, all the things for the week. What is the schedule for the next 2 weeks? What do we, like it's a constant brain dump as well. And I think we're a little bit more in tune because we're in this field. So we're able to maybe have those self reflections or check ourselves in the moment or after the fact a little bit better and be able to, like our plan of action the next time,
yeah,
right? May not be perfect still, but like the last time we were here, I flipped my whole shit. So what can I do better next time, knowing all of these things and knowing that I have a 5-year-old. So, we're talking to 3, 5, and 6-year-olds
yeah,
that are themselves aren't going to really able to reason with us. But like, what tools do we have as adults or for adults in their settings to
Mhm.
normalize that, because dysregulated adults cannot manage dysregulated kiddos. And I see it happen
Yeah.
all the time,
All
including myself.
Oh yeah, including myself. So that's one. It was one of my favorite practices in a school building. It was just a general check-in with the staff. You get to know folks' habits, like the way they come into the building every single day. You got the person that's sneaking in, flying down the stairs, head down, headed straight to the coffee machine. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
folks that are bright and early, that's already in their classroom singing and ready to greet the kid. Like everybody's different, right? So you have to kind of learn those behaviors when you're leading a school or leading a team. And so
Yeah.
once you figure that out, you can better gauge, when those check-ins should be for the adults. And then you can also know in advance when you might have to just like tap in or pay just closer attention to the student behaviors or culture, because whether or not they're gonna snap on any given day. And again, it's not always the kids that can trigger it. Something might have happened at home. And we have to realize as educators and folks that are dealing with human capital and human being, right, every single day, stuff happens. First off, I got cut off in traffic. There was an hour-long delay trying to get to work. My kid didn't want to get dressed this morning. They refused to put on their socks. And that was all before I had to get to the school building.
I forgot to eat.
Uh, you know what I mean? Like
My
all of that.
hair didn't work. My hair didn't want to lay the right way. Exactly.
Listen, your little bun is not bunning. Your bun is on point. My bun is not bunning this morning. So we're just gonna keep. But yeah, it's like what are you supposed to do? And there's almost no time to take a breath. And that's where that educators and anyone that works with children are like angels, heaven sent. Whatever you want to say, like you have to be a particular type of person to know that you were going to go deal with other people's children in a place of care. It has to come from a place of like just consideration and that commitment to all these C's. I love good alliteration, but you take all these C words, right? Care, continuity, compassion, like all of these things that you have to bring to the table in order to do really good work.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. And what do you do with
the emotional piece of it? And that's not the like day-to-day now duties and cadences and pacing guides and everything, especially in the school that I then have to keep up with.
Yeah.
That I made a post about this last week, but my 5-year-old is getting to the point where there's so many foods he used to eat. He used to eat everything that now he's just like, my brain told me I won't like it, so I'm not going to eat it, which is like so frustrating. Like luckily he likes one thing of every food group. Vegetables are a little dicey. But just like even like nuggets, right? He likes the dino nuggets, but if now we give him a regular nugget, he don't want to eat that. Like it's the same brand. It's going to taste the same. It's just not shaped like a damn dino. Like just eat the nugget. So we started telling him in order to get the sweets, right? I'm never going to take food away from him. But, to get his desserts, his cookies, his Kit Kats or whatever, he's going to have to try new foods.
Okay, Kit Kat.
Probably spent 2 or 3 days, disaster, right? And I was on like, you're not getting this until you try this whole food, you eat it, you chew it, you swallow it, everything. I was on it, disaster for, 2, 3 days. And I was like, okay, Scho, like, let's take a step back. What am I doing? Right? Like this, I can't do this 4 or 5 days in a row because my mental state, I can't do it either. And probably for him too. What am I asking him to do? And then kind of starting to think about, I was asking him to go from 0 to 100, right? Even though it was a damn grape, you've eaten grapes before, you like it. I'm asking him to really do something he doesn't want to do. So then I'm like, okay, shaping, right? Yeah. Let me use what I already know. Okay, you don't want to eat it right now. You got to lick it 2 times. All right, we're going to get through that, and then building our way up of like, now you can bite into it. You're still not eating it, which, it's like beside, like, I'm just like, I want to choke them, not literally. but just, you know, like I'm building those skills, but knowing that, like, even I had to take a step back and really think about what am I asking my kid to do? And then me being emotional about it. I was trying to have that power struggle because I told you you needed X to do that. And we were just getting into, like, we were literally getting into power struggles and him just crying and yelling for 30, 45 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is this healthy for him and me? Like, what am I really doing? So being able to just use some of that knowledge, that I think why it is important that me and you have kind of a basic and a foundation,
Hmm.
and trying to talk about those basics and the foundations, because we are emotional creatures. And I think a lot of times we react out of emotions, like, you know, they're driving me crazy, they're out to get me, and I can't believe that, you know, because like we're emotional, and we're dysregulated in the moment. But we have to be able to take a step away from the emotion and really be able to look at it more objectively, to actually be able to solve the problem and get through it.
So my so I think my wondering then is when we think about those skills that you just named, that all stem from patience, by the way, right? Like, how are you then thinking about the work, right? So I'm hearing you're using a countdown method. You were using so they call it
Shaping.
yeah. So my son's OT calls it like the taste eraser, right? So he gets to like lick
Yeah.
like monkey bites, dinosaur bites. Like he can take all these different size of bites or lick or smell using all of his senses, right? And then he can have a taste eraser nearby. So whether it's his favorite drink or another food on his plate that he actually likes, so he has to just try the thing. I want to take that and I want to look at it from the lens of older adolescents. So when you're thinking about it now in terms of new behaviors, in the academic setting, or trying to shift behaviors that are no longer working, you got the kid that's just loud. You have the kid that won't engage in the academic work. You have the student that's consistently late to school, right? Like there's just all these different behaviors that you're trying to curb and provide some skills to help the student see it differently. Um,
Mhm.
what is it that you see as a practitioner in a space that gives the kid motivation to be willing to try the new thing and keep your cool at the same time?
I think we've talked about this every episode. That rapport, right? I do think it starts a little bit with that rapport, because you said the kid that's constantly late. The first thing that popped to my mind is like, is it that kid's fault? Especially if it's in the morning, right? Does the kid have control over being late? Also, like asking, why are they late? Do they have to use the bathroom? Are they walking to school? You know, is it in the morning? Is it just that class? So I think the
Mhm.
first thing is really figuring out the ABCs, the patterns. Like,
Mhm.
why is kiddo being late? What class is he coming from? Is he coming from gym and maybe, you know, got to get changed, got to do some other thing, you know, like, so really trying to figure out the circumstances behind it. Maybe even with the work, how you said kiddo is a little bit resistant. Why? Can they
Mhm.
do what you're asking them to do? Is it a skill deficit? Are they, you know, like really trying to figure out, um, what is going on behind it, and then going from there, like
Yeah.
knowing, okay, you're being resistant to this math because you can't do it, right? My approach is going to be different than, you don't, you know how to do this math, you don't want to, you just don't want to do it, right? Maybe that's more of a motivation block. Okay, now what is going to get you motivated? Maybe I
Yeah.
need to change some of my reinforcement contingencies or some of the things that I'm doing, to get that kiddo more,
Yeah.
to build some of that motivation, in there. But what I see, which is what I've done as a parent, and I think we've all probably done as a parent, we just want blind compliance a lot of
Mhm.
times. And I think just that I'm the adult and you're going to do it because I said so.
My 90s
Um,
kid,
and,
because I
you
said
know,
so.
that just doesn't work for everybody. I mean, honestly, like that explanation doesn't work for me, right? Like I'm the person, even at work, I used to always be the person when new things would pop up, they would kind of know because I'd be in the chat like, so question, like I was not the person that's just like, oh, well, we're just going to do it because I was told, like, okay, but I need to ask some clarifying questions.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happens a lot of times is that we get into these power battles because we just want blind compliance. And I've done this as a parent too, of just like, I just need you to do it because I said so. And we're also at a stage where now it's like, why?
Yeah.
Because I said so. Well, why? Right. And I don't think that mindset for kids or even as adult changes. Like, why? Why do I need to do this math? Like, is that going to help me today? I don't care. Well, then you're going to get an F. Okay. So I think it's really right.
I'm telling you, the way these kids have figured out that F doesn't mean nothing. They're like, that's okay. I'm gonna go be X anyway. I'm like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Like we still need
exactly. So it's like, some of those power dynamics that I think drive us. Power dynamics plus us being emotional, because then it's like, you didn't say what, you didn't do what I wanted you to do. And then that usually leads to the downfall of everything.
Yeah. All right, so I have another question. So we've talked a little bit. We bounced around, but we talked a little bit about why our professional skills disappear at home. Fair. So now let's talk a little bit about regulating before strategy. So we know what the strategies are, right? So, but they don't work when we're dysregulated, and you already touched on this a little bit. So what does it look like when you're dysregulated as a parent versus what does it look like when you're dysregulated as a practitioner or in your professional space? What are the differences? Like, what do those look like?
Twofolds. The first thing that I thought of like a kid, right? I feel that even though it sounds bad, because I don't want to say like I'm taking it out on my kid, but me being dysregulated at home does look different than at work, because I feel like at work, I'm still like, this is professional. If someone took a video of me right now, I'm not trying to lose my job. I'm not trying to lose my credibility. I want to cuss you out and your mama out and this staff member out, but I can't. Right. So I think there is more of me recognizing situations that I'm getting into ahead of time. Like I'm doing a lot of almost crisis management and like environmental check, if that makes sense, of situations that I'm walking into, of like what is happening, what is the kiddo, I'm almost doing an assessment check before I get or put myself into any situations to just ensure, like, am I going to need more support? Do I need to text somebody on the side? Do I, to prep for things? I think at home, because we're a little bit more relaxed, we're really not on a schedule, even though I feel guilty at the end if I yell at Christopher. That's something between me and Christopher I can repair at home,
right,
and have more, I don't even want to say leeway is not the right word, but just I'm more relaxed at home, right? I'm not worried about getting fired at home. And that is also my space to work on those skills, I think, too, and to be able to get that feedback. So I do think me being dysregulated at work looks so much different because there is a side of dysregulation that I don't want people to see as a professional, if that makes sense, versus like at home, like I know my husband has seen every side possible of the dysregulation scale of me, and he can tell. He's like, oh, this is how you are. Okay, I'm gonna give you some space. Like, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm fine. And he's like, I'll be downstairs, or like, here's your refresher. I'll come back in a little bit.
No, that's having a strong partner in the work is has been really game changing for me.
Mhm.
So for the folks that are doing it solo, kudos to you and not having someone in the immediate moment to help balance that regulation. I think that's also really important to talk about for folks that are solo parenting.
Yeah.
Um, that can be a lot. So the next question is, oh, so let me just say, so for me, when I'm dysregulated at work, I realize that for me, it would very much be short answers. Like
Mm.
I didn't ever give it a thought. Like it would just be like whatever first would come to my mind, be like da 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 da. I'm like, because I'm trying to like get through the task or whatever it is, so I can move on and handle whatever else is going on with me. And I was like, oh wait a minute, I didn't give that the full thought or the full picture. I just needed it out of my face in this moment.
Yeah.
Um, because especially when you're just managing a lot. So that would be my first tell that I didn't like acknowledge the question, say thank you for the question, or I appreciate that. Give me a second. Let me check, just let me know. Let me think through it. That would be my first tell that I was like off. My second tell was if I realized I just really hadn't had coffee yet. I'm not gonna lie, like my routine was so important in the school building. Like I
Yeah.
needed to come in, set myself stuff down, fill up my water bottle, brew that cup of coffee, right?
Mhm.
Or tea, depending on what the mood was that day.
It's a
Log
routine.
in, get those first emails. Well, not even the first emails. It would be the second set of emails because I would have checked emails at home to make sure someone had called out. I had already called the sub line. There's a first set of emails when you're a school leader that you do before you even leave the house in the morning.
Yeah.
And the second set of emails that might have come in on the commute just to deal with whatever was next and just double check my coffee immediately. Exactly. Coffee immediately always. Uh, so, and then the second set of emails and the voicemails that might have come in. And
Yeah.
so my routine mattered. And then it was being present or visible or just kind of seeing how the students are coming in or how the staff is coming in.
Yeah.
So I can kind of gauge like, what's the energy on today? So those were some of the things that I would know if I was dysregulated, if those things honestly just didn't happen every single day.
Yeah.
In my
And
work,
that's a good point with the dysregulation too, because I think mine was a little bit of the opposite because in a lot of the um, jobs that I worked at, especially in the beginning of my career, I worked with autistic individuals with moderate to severe problem behavior. So
mhm,
I felt like every day I was coming in and it was unpredictable, right? There was like organized unpredictability,
yeah,
but I was always dealing with some sort of challenging or maladaptive behaviors, and then if we were able to have it a little bit more predictable in our setting, but then when you're getting out in the home and the community and in the schools, how are you managing behavior and crises and de-escalating?
mhm,
So I think I am used to a little bit more of there being chaos.
mhm,
And I think the important piece was that I gave myself time throughout the day to, am I taking a quick 10-minute walk? Am I putting on my earphones and jamming out to some 90s music? Am I like, what are some things that I am deliberately and intentionally taking the time out in the day, knowing that it has been chaotic, but I'm
yep,
so used to managing it. But did I give myself time
mhm,
to eat, to take a quick walk, to listen to some music, to,
mhm,
watch a funny video, to scroll on, and, like social media, whatever I needed to do in between to then
yeah,
get ready um, for what was next. So I think that helped maintain. And then I do think when we were talking about our partners, I think personally having partners, but then also at work, I think this was really important for me in the jobs that I've been in is
mhm,
that I didn't mess with everybody or trust everybody at work, but there was still a level of, we all knew each other's triggers. People knew there are
okay,
certain, like for me it was spitting, right? So we get kiddos, that was just you could pull my hair, you could kick me, you could punch me, you could try to scratch, like I was cool, I'd manage anything else. Spitting though for me was like, is like the ultimate disrespect. So there was something about that specific maladaptive behavior that like I saw red, and my team knew that because we would have those conversations. So it's also about, okay, my team knows me well enough where they know if that happens, where then in the moment, someone is coming in to help me support or swapping me out, knowing that I'm going to need that quick time to get myself back together instead of like, oh, she looks fine, she'll be fine. And then, but I am dysregulated. So now I can't appropriately function within my job. So I think that's the other important piece of being dysregulated is, do you have a safe environment, work environment, culture? I think that speaks to culture, right? Where dysregulation gets noticed, or where you have that one teacher or your assistant principal or, your buddy that kind of knows, ooh, Sherann look a little crazy. Let me get her a coffee, or let me tell her she needs to go take a beat for 10 minutes. I got her, and then have her come back out. Like, what does that look like? And having those people that can identify that, like our husbands, to be able to regulate you in the moment. I think we all need those people in the workspace too.
Uh-oh, I had blanked out for a second. You there?
Yes. I was going to say, oh no.
I know, I lost my internet for a second. Okay. But we're back. We're back. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. We lost our internet for a second. Looks like folks are still alive, so that's good. Okay. And so I was listening to what I last heard you say was explicitly around the idea of taking the break, stepping away, and figuring out once your team recognized your triggers, that was also super helpful for you, because they can help support you in kind of getting back regulated, right? Coming back to center. So one of the things that we would call it is for older adolescents is, are you centered? Like, as we would use like a quadrant model and be like, where are you on the quadrant, and how do we get you back to the center so you can kind of like move through the day to the best of your ability.
Zone regulation is another one that does very similar. Like, you should stay in the green zone. If you're in the other zones, how do you get yourself back to that green zone?
Exactly. So same process. Yeah. And one of the things, so I had each student is different when you're dealing with older kids, right? That'll work for me. Okay. What works for you? Let me know. Help me out. One of the things I would ask a particular student, they were going for a really hard time, loss and just some other stuff going on with them. And I would just every day, because it was hard to read the kid, you know what I mean? Like, great kid, but it was hard to read them. So I finally said, listen, I'm going to ask you one simple question, and based on your answer, I'll know how to proceed. I would ask the kid, how's your heart?
Yeah.
How's your heart today? And they would give me like one of 4 responses. I said, we're going to narrow it down, and that way I know how to proceed with you. And so that way I kind of know like the day, or kind of like how you're entering the day, so I can best support you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's also having those personalized moments sometimes with students to be like, all right, what do you need right now? And so we can best support you, so we don't trigger. Do you know what I mean? So we don't exit the green zone or exit this centered space. That was really important. That's really
that. And I think we don't do that enough with adults, right? Like, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, we do it all the time with kids, but almost if like an adult comes in dysregulated to work, it's like, okay, you good? Okay, like, now get your shit together, because like we got things to do, right? So I don't think we take enough time of even just a quick check-in, like you said, like quick text, checking in, how you doing? Team, how you doing?
Right.
The survey for this morning, how we doing? To really identify
the kids all the time. Thumbs down, in the middle, thumbs up, like basic.
Right. What do you need from me? Or the team, right? It can't always, like, as a principal, I imagine it can't always be, what do you need from me right now? Because I may not have the capacity to do that. But is there a person, that's where I kind of think like a counselor for the adults would be very beneficial, because then Sarah identified this morning that she was having a rough time, but she has to teach her 3 classes. Can you go check in on her during a break and see if she needs anything? Or, do we have a support person that's not about that is solely on the mental health piece
Yeah.
of things and supporting that mental health and that self-care.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. And so we're going to take, so we're going to talk about the health and mental health and managing that self-care. We're going to take that piece right there. And so let's pivot slightly with the idea of the self-care and how do we hold those two spaces at once? So how can we be parent and professional? And so I think the question that I'm trying to get to is, where can you give yourself permission not to be clinical at home?
All the time. Where can I give myself permission not to be clinical at home? All the time.
All the time.
Answer. I think it's the opposite. It's the knowledge that I have, and I don't know if you feel the same way too. The knowledge that I have as a professional helps me in those moments. Right? It helps me pivot quicker because in the moment I want to scream, but that professional angel in my head real quick is like, ding, 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 wait a minute. Before you set it off, I just want to remind you I'm here. You know something. So just to take a beat, right? And that beat is kind of like, okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me take a step. Let me think about how I want to respond next. So I think it's just helped me to recognize situations sooner or quicker and just in how I respond. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect, because we're all human, right? Especially when we are overwhelmed and dysregulated and frustrated, or just like I'm tired. So just my fuse is like the little voice went off, but I didn't care, right? Because I couldn't in the moment. But I don't want it to feel clinical. And I think that's where I think I was always like that, but especially since I became a parent, I have been even more mindful and intentional about that when I am in my professional spaces too. It's so easy as a professional to just say XYZ, okay, boom, get this done, boom, get this done, boom, this is what it should look like. But really giving people more grace and really understanding that emotions do take over and emotions are natural. So like, okay, yes, that emotion happened. And then now what? Right? Like, now let's think about X, or let's think about how we are going to manage this situation. Or before we even get there, what is your plan? Right? Like, this big blow up happened. Let me debrief with myself. How can I handle this better? And I'll have those conversations, even though Christopher's 5 sometimes. Like, I'll tell him that, like, I'm sorry, mommy did not mean to yell at you like that today. This is what happened. What can we do better next time?
That's
right?
a good one.
What can I do better next time? And then maybe like, what can you do better next time? Because you could just listen a little bit, but like having some of that debrief too of like, yeah, okay, how can we make sure we don't get here next time? We may still get there, but maybe it won't be as long, right? Or I'll be able to pivot quicker because I had a plan that I remembered.
Yeah, that's really good. That actually answers my next question. What does good enough parenting look like in hard moments? And that's a really good example of the reset, the take a breath, the apology. The apology is huge. And I learned that with students. I apologized all the time. I was wrong. I got it wrong. I messed up.
Like, I don't know. That's one of my favorite things too. I don't know. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's
and it's been a long way.
Yeah.
It went a long way because then it also opened the door to realize, okay, so when we don't do the right thing or don't make the best decision, we can make amends and we can work on repair, right? Because you can't always fix it, but you can work on repair, and that was a restorative piece that was
Yeah.
just really helpful. And you just mentioned that with your 5-year-old, like how do you repair? Because even at a young age, they feel that, and that goes into the next set of questions that I have: repair over perfection, right? So the goal isn't perfect implementation, right? Whether you're in the school building or at home. So we got to talk about repair, consistency, and my
Yeah.
words again, and then modeling humanity.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
do we do that? So how do you repair in a tough moment with your child? You just talked about that. And so what are you modeling when you apologize or you reset? What are you showing them? Whether a student or Christopher, what are you showing them?
I think it's just like that we're human, that adults make mistakes too. Yeah, yep, I love that too. I don't know, can we figure it out together? I like that. It just shows them that human side, right? It shows them that side of like I think to me, why it's important for me to apologize when I'm in the wrong is to acknowledge his feelings too. Cause he told me, like, I didn't like that. You're right. I apologize. I don't want to be yelling at you like that. I shouldn't have been doing that. Um, and it models ownership, I think, too. Like, I am owning up to the actions or
Mm-hmm.
the behaviors that I engaged in that made you feel some kind of way. So, like, I'm owning up to what I did and I'm acknowledging how you felt about
Yeah.
that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in the moment, it's kind of like, it wasn't that big of a deal. You good, right? That's what I'm thinking in my head. But I also want to teach him, like, what you felt was valid, regardless of if I truly felt like that, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
not. What you felt is valid. And I want you to be able to come to me and tell me when I have made you upset or frustrated you. When, you know, like, I want you to be able to talk about that instead
Yeah.
of feeling like, well, if I go tell her, or, you know, a teacher, if I go say something, she's not going to care anyway, or she's just going to make excuses, or she's just going to do X. So
Yeah.
what's the point? And then now this kiddo is keeping all of this inside. I want you to be able to tell me that.
Yeah.
And me not just say, like, stop. I mean, sometimes that's what I want to say. And sometimes that does come out like, that's nothing to cry about. Like, come on. And then it's like, okay, what made you upset about that?
Right.
Like, it's okay to be upset. You know, also teaching him, like, it's okay to be upset. We just don't
Mm-hmm.
need to go to boohoo crying every time something
Mm-hmm.
is upset,
What's
but
another
he's
skill?
5.
Other skills, other ways that you could express yourself. So when they're
Exactly.
smaller, it can turn into tears or tantrums. When you're older, it's still tantrums and tearing stuff up, and
Exactly.
just
Just a
language.
different
The language changes can get a little more harsh when you're older. I
exactly.
think for me, um, it's naming the harm. And so, oh, I see that Umi's words or my
Mhm.
actions, um, frustrated you or caused you to feel sad or hurt or angry. Um, how can I, or this is what I'll do differently next time when this happens, and just kind of putting it out there. So instead
Yeah.
of saying, "Oh, you are frustrating me," that was my big thing. Oh, you're frustrating me. You know what I mean? Like it's like Umi's frustrated. You know what I'm saying? You're not frustrating me. I'm frustrated. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like your behaviors are your behaviors, and I got to figure it out because you're the child, right? So how can I take what's frustrating me and figure it out so I can adjust in this moment? And then, and with again, and so the school building and the way that translated for me was that's not an ideal behavior. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not the role of a student. So what is it that you need to be doing differently right now? It's not cussing out the teacher, it's not walking out of class, it's not skipping in the hallways, it's not, you know what I mean? Like I
Mm.
need you to tell me what the agreement is that you made when you decided that you're gonna be a student. And
Right.
I need you to do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that. How can we get you it's back to center, back to green, so we can do that? And if we can't, it's okay. But what you
Yeah.
can't do is interrupt or harm other people's learning and safety. right? So that's the other thing. Sometimes when we see these behaviors and we didn't actually get to that, we might have to do a whole different episode on this. But what
Yeah.
happens when the behaviors interrupt the safety and well-being of others, right? So those are those emergency moments where I'm like, just stop what you're doing right now. I'm sorry, stop. I'm silent.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop
No,
what you're doing
I
right
got you.
now.
I got you.
Stop what
We
you're
could probably have 2 episodes on just de-escalation and crisis
doing.
management because I got a lot of opinions about that.
Yeah, and that's a difficult one, right? So you got big kids, right? And I'm like, okay, stop right now. And for me, I'm talking to adults who, like you said, you see red. So the 18-year-olds be seeing red too. Oh, I'm not wrestling a 6'4" grown child. Like, let's,
Absolutely not.
sir, listen, not gonna wrestle you. I need you to hear me. I need you to see me. I need you to come back wherever you are right now.
Yeah.
Right. And whatever caused the dysregulation, right? And so how do you work with young adults or children when they get to that space? And then how do I model?
Yeah.
But this is not the behavior. What can we do? And there's difference when there's mental health involved. So hear me out. I know when there's mental health stuff involved, that there's other types of things that need to take place when a child is in crisis. It can look very different. So I acknowledge that, but we just kind of model our language, our tone, our body language is huge in that moment. You're open, you're safe, but you're open, shoulders down, voice calm, and it's not condescending at all. It's very much like, I hear you, I see you, and I recognize that this ain't it for you. So how, what do we need to do? Do we need to exit? Do we need to do we need an exit plan? A lot of one of my key things for my young males in particular, they not gonna cry in front of nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was their big thing. And I'm like, ooh, why don't you run to my office real quick? Take my keys. Won't you go get some water? Why don't you go get a snack real quick? Right. It gives them an exit plan that they don't have to, that gives them the exit plan that they didn't have to come up with in the moment. Because if they say anything else, if they think anything else, it's gonna come out. And whatever that macho thing that we teach our young boys, it is what it is. By the time they're 16, 17, 18, they're not gonna cry. Right. And I hate that for them. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what I mean? They're so angry and so frustrated. So anyway, so that was another strategy, is I would give them the exit plan.
Yeah.
Why don't you go for a walk with me? I ain't go with you, miss. Let's go get a snack, bro. Like, I'm gonna do it. Like, just go get a snack. Take my keys. Go to my office. Just go get a snack. Go get some water. You give them the exit. Give them the out. So that was another strategy that I used. So one more question.
Oh wait, I have one for you too.
Oh, you go first.
All right. So in the profession, and we kind of hit at this, but really getting more specific. What has been your biggest tension as like a professional and being a counselor, even like as a principal, and your real life parenting experience? Or have you had moments where you're like, oh my God, I can do this with my eyes closed at school, you know, the strategy, but then when you're home, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but then you look back on it and you're like, this is the exact same thing I did yesterday with this kid. So like, what have been some of your tensions between like your professional knowledge and your real life parenting experience?
Yeah, one of these things is not like the other. Listen, let me tell you right now. No, and okay, so they're not the same. The tension, I think, for me is just developmentally, where I am as a parent. And so I'm just at the early stages of that life right now, versus my passion again rests with older adolescents. And so my education experience being in the school building was again like 11 through 11 years old through 24. And so it's just very yeah. So that for me is part of the tension, is that where I really honed my skills was big kids. I did do my practicum though, my field work as a social work student in early childhood centers, so 3 to 5 year olds with pervasive developmental delays. So this is right when parents are finding out that their kid has autism. This is right when they're realizing that there may be a particular delay in their child's developmental trajectory. And so I did do my internship there. And it taught me first that I don't want to work with that age group
Yeah.
And then second, it also gave me a lot more grace for parenting because these parents are finding something out for the first time. They're grieving this idea of normalcy,
Yeah.
right? And normalcy is not a thing. We know that as parents. And they're also now having to seek help with something that sometimes parents are taught that should come naturally.
Yep. Or just
So
asking for help in general can
and
be
ask
hard.
for help in
Yeah.
general. So that was one of the things that I realized that would be triggering to parents and hard to do. And this is in two oh my age myself. Oh man. This is in 2004, 2005, when we were finally getting like public regular knowledge on autism. It was like widely available versus folks kind of dealing with it in the shadows. Do you know what I mean? And so people were having just more conversations about what these different delays might look like in early childhood development.
Yeah.
And so me as a 20 something had to very much be like, I don't know, I don't have kids, but here's a strategy as a social worker that I can, you know what I mean? Like you had to step back really quickly as a professional and be like, how do you offer these parents grace? They're coming in, they're crying. It was also a dual language facility that I was working
You're
at.
almost like a crisis manager first because you're like, it doesn't matter what I recommend. They're trying like,
They are grieving.
what
They're
do
trying to
we need for
understand.
them? Yeah.
They're finally translating these developmental diagnoses to other languages. Parents are coming in, my child has what? And they put some. I was like, okay, calm down, calm down. They're still your baby. Like they're still
Right.
your child. Like it's whoo, you know what I mean? And so you're going through those motions with parents. Um, and as a practitioner, and then you're watching these beautiful little humans just exist. Right, and you're just like they're just existing like that, and it's like how do you kind of like help shift now this parent perspective on this is the gift that you were given. And I know that it is not meant to sound condescending at all, because I had somebody ask me, well, who else was supposed to be Atlas and Persephone's parents? And I had to sit with that for a second. I was like, oh, it was always destined to be me and my
Right.
husband. We were always destined to be their parents. And so once you kind of come to that realization, um, I think the way that you handle it, the things that you learn, and the pace at which you adjust and get better and make those adjustments, I guess, to your professional practice and personal practice.
Yeah.
Just happen. They feel more natural at some point,
Yeah.
and then you do become more forgiving because it's a learning curve.
Mm-hmm. I
So
think
yeah,
that's
that
something that I hear you say too, that I experienced a little bit. It's different when you're the professional and you're providing essentially the assessment and intervention, but you're not the one implementing it every single day,
yeah,
right? It's almost like this is what I want you to do. Where I'm, we're going to do check-ins, we're going to look at the data, we're going to do all these other things, but then it becomes a different thing when it's now like, oh, I got to do this every day.
yeah.
So I got to implement this. I got to like, kind of like teachers, right? You learn all the strategies, but then in the moment, shit pops off. Whoa, what do I do now? Now what you're telling me, what I should have did, how does that work when one kiddo is flying across the room, another kiddo is over here, or my kiddo's knocking all, the dishes, all, like this doesn't work anymore. So I think that's kind of realizing, I think too, like you said, that grace a little bit of, oh, hey, finally made it to alive. Where you're kind of like, okay, now I see how does that work in the moment now.
Yeah.
I got this plan. I got to implement it consistently for it to work. And also think about my emotions and my state of my shit together through all of this. And I still have laundry to do and dinner to cook and get, this ready for the business or get this ready for tomorrow and, all the other million things that you got to think about.
Yeah. And then and this will be another episode too. Let me tell you, having two is also interesting because we also, my smaller one, will model the older one's behaviors. And so we do a lot of mitigating. And I was like, oh, that's not the behavior we want you to model. Because, he'll stem or he'll have like crisis moments where he's just completely dysregulated. And, we're working with the older one to be like, hey, let's work on that behavior. Like, you don't have to thrash and yell when you're not getting your way. Like, how can we help you? We know you've been, he masks all day long, right? Like, he's just like in this perfect little space all day long. When he gets home, he's like, oh, thank you, finally. You know what I mean? The little one is like, hi. She's very much nuck if you buck. Okay. So she's going to do exactly what he does. We're like, hold on, sis. Like, you don't got to model those behaviors. You don't got to match his energy right now. Like, how do you help? So when you're also managing more than one child at home, how do you manage those behaviors when you're trying to teach those positive behaviors and keep them regulated? And again, same for a school full of kids. Like, one kid can set off an entire chain of events in a school building. Like, how do you keep that and keep the school community regulated when someone is off, whether it's an adult?
I was going to say that goes for adults too. Sometimes a coworker comes in trying to stop it or just all dysregulated. You like, don't come over here throwing my stuff off or throwing my kids off.
Not today.
Yeah.
No, that's a great one. Yeah.
Lots of topics we can. I mean, always, every time. I'm like, man, we got so many things.
It always leads to like multiple questions to follow up on. So we're nearing time today, so I want to wrap up with the questions. So we talked a little bit about this as we were planning for today, and you and I talk about this probably more often than not. Is how can you extend grace to yourself? That's the same grace that you give to your clients. So we talked about how we give it at home with our kiddos, but how do we extend the grace to ourselves?
That's hard, right? Because
especially in helping professions,
we tend not to. I think it's being intentional with it.
Yeah.
Because I think we get in such a routine and a habit of our personal lives and our work lives, right? That we forget sometimes, because I'll have meltdowns where I'm just like, I'm a terrible mom. And just like, I don't know, what we get emotional and just like some random thing set us off. So I think being intentional about it. So whether that is maybe putting something in your calendar that sends you a reminder, or, finding ways to build in reflection, whether that is with reading, whether that is with listening to something, to just tell yourself you're doing a good job, you're trying your hardest. And then I think some of that self-reflection goes in with it too, of like, okay, this is how I am feeling. What can I do for myself to be better for others? So I think it's how do you create that space for yourself to be able to give yourself grace. But you can't do that if you're constantly ripping and running around. You got to be able to sit in that. And that might mean you get emotional because then everything comes down at once, which is, I know sometimes what happens to me. I give space to myself and it's just like, and it's just like everything at once. But then I feel good afterwards. Like, okay, I got that out. I needed that. Let me go on my walk. Let me take my shower. But you need that time to just decompress. I think is the best way.
That's a big one. Monique says, I think even having the space to rest, to become aware of what you feel. And I 1,000% agree with that. And I'm going to push it even further. Being aware of your awareness. Because when we're going through the motions of the moment, we forget to like survey. We forget to be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not right now. Let me take this deep breath and figure it out. My big one with my kiddos is smell the cookie, blow out the candle. I know there's different versions of that, but it's just to kind of give you a minute. And so that is where, for me, I think it takes practice.
Yeah. And I think with Christopher, I try to be intentional. I think it's easy with just like social media in today's world, just technology and just go, 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 to have 10, 15 minutes a day where I'm intentional about, I don't have my phone. We play and do whatever it is that he, like put ourselves in the moment and just be aware of that, because sometimes those 10, 15 minutes really kind of what you said, giving grace. It's like, yeah, I got a dope ass kid, right? Like he actually is hella smart. He's doing really good. He is the sweetest, so like, because I took the time where we got to do this, we got to rush here, we got to do bedtime. We got to, I took the time to just spend time. That goes with my husband too, just like taking time for the people that you love, which includes yourself too, of
it does
turning off everything else and just feeling what I feel for me, for my husband, for my kid, and just like being grateful for that.
Yeah. That intentionality is so very important, because we can't be everything to everyone all at once. Right? It's not possible. And to all the super women, men, people, super people out there.
And we try to do it every single day.
We do. And I commend you for trying to be present for everyone all of the time. It's just, it's not sustainable. Even if you manage for 30 seconds, it's not sustainable. So being intentional about that is so key. So I love that. So just stepping away from the devices and the tech, being present and engaged. And it's not going to be for hours on end, but it's going to be the right amount, right? It's going to be just what you need, or just what your child needs, or just what that student needs.
Yeah.
That staff member. So for those in school settings or in any different learning, any type of learning community that deals with young people and children. I just want to be inclusive of that, right? Because we do have to realize that folks in our professions work in different types of settings with youth. Listen, it's that piece of chocolate, that little Dubai square chocolate that I put on my co-worker's desk because I know they love it, and I just got a little square one day, and I was like, I need you to have a good day today. You know what I mean? And but it was just the thought behind it, acknowledging that they weren't in a great space and they needed a breath. So eat this piece of chocolate, take 10 minutes, recalibrate, and then come back out your office, please. Don't come out before you eat the chocolate and take a minute.
Eat the chocolate first.
Eat the chocolate first, please. You know what I mean? And just giving folks giving yourself the grace to realize that you're not okay, and then also offering that same to your clients or your colleagues.
Yeah,
it's key. Yeah, that's a big one.
So as we close out, are there any upcoming events or things that you have going on that you want to tell the good people about?
Yeah. Well, first off, as always, thank you. You always come with the heat. You always have you always got those fire talking points. I was like, I gotta keep up with this. Hold on. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I love that. Such important information in our professions. Thank you for sharing today. Those are just, I love it. Thank you for sharing your mothering journey, your parenting journey, and your journey as a BCBA. So thank you for that. And to answer your question, I have 2 things coming up next week, back to back to back. So I'm offering my free webinar on the 19th. So, yeah. So go to my channel. You can definitely find the link and register. I'd love to see you there as we're closing out the school year, right? And so and Counselor and Concierge is celebrating 2 years this month.
Hey.
On that. And we definitely want to make sure that you all in Connecticut, my Connecticut people, I will be presenting at the Connecticut School Counselor Association next Thursday. So if you are in Connecticut or in that area, if you're not going, register. And then I will be presenting. So free webinar on the 19th, and then I will be at the Connecticut School Counselor Association on the 21st.
Oh, let me know. I'm trying to find the link now to put it in the YouTube chat. Just your workshop, if I do your link for counseling.
Probably.
Listen, I was like, "Ugh, English, is not my first language, so sometimes my words get all over me. I went on your website and just did the workshop link. Is that the right one?
Nope, that's a different link. That's okay. That workshop isn't in Told July. No, you could just drop my page in the chat. You can just drop my website in the chat.
Just the full website. So I'm going to drop that in the chat for y'all so that y'all have that. Subscribe to her channel and her email list. Please. I have a couple things coming up too. If you are in the Cleveland, Ohio area this Thursday, one of my biz. Did I lose you, Sherann?
Oh, I'm here. What happened?
Okay. You're okay. Now you're not frozen anymore. I was like, oh, am I about to get frozen too? I am one of my biz besties and I, Agnes. We are hosting a in-person workshop. So unfortunately, just in person. But if we get good feedback, we might thinking about doing it virtually, but definitely will likely have it again in person. Designing school culture with behavior science. So we're teaming up as, Agnes, a former principal and leadership coach, just thinking about your culture playbook, how you got to know the basics of behavior science and the fundamentals of behavior to really understand how to develop your culture playbook. So having two different experiences and voices, we are joining forces together for that. And I also have two upcoming workshops in May and in June, May 19th actually as well. The first one is You Were Never Taught Behavior Basics, but you're still expected to manage it.
Come on.
True. And then the second one is Think Like a Behavior Specialist, build a assessment mindset. And then I got a couple conferences coming up that you can check out in that link, or any upcoming events, workshops, things of that sort will always be posted on that page, the events page.
Awesome. I love that.
Who was in here for showing up. I see some of our gladiators in the chat. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. So we got a lot going on in May. Go ahead and subscribe to our pages, everything you just said. When are we doing this again? We're going to drop that date on Instagram.
I'll let you know. Listen, part of the thing, we would love to get it more consistent, but the way our schedules are set up right now, we just gonna let y'all know we're gonna keep popping up random dates in the evening, in the morning, on the weekend. If we're together again, we will let y'all know. But if y'all do ever miss a live episode, you can check them out on our YouTube channels. For the replay, you can also go check out my LinkedIn page under the events tab. I believe the recordings are always also saved.
They are. Love that. Well, shout out to you again. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
I look forward to Behavior Talk episode 4.
I look forward to it. Can't wait for this to blossom.
Awesome. That's so exciting.
Get all our stuff figured out. Show notes. Once we get the show notes figured out, y'all better watch out. Okay.
You won't be able to tell us nothing.
Exactly. Once we figure out how to put this on a podcast somewhere.
Oh man.
Once we figure that out, you're not gonna be able to tell us nothing.
Nothing. Listen, we getting there. Learning as we go. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for joining Behavior Talk with Sherann and Coach Scho. We'll see you next time. I'm gonna end it somehow. Okay, here we go. Bye, y'all.